Dr. Teller, you've made some rather interesting recommendations about nuclear reactor safety. You've essentially minimized the possibility of major accidents occurring, but you do have a solution for some of the criticism, and that is bury the reactors underground. In what way would this help?
Reactors are exceedingly safe. There has been no really nuclear accident that released substantial amounts of radioactivity or hurt anybody in an industrial reactor in the United States. At the same time, where there is human operation, there can be human error. Now, there are things that can't happen. A reactor cannot explode. There are things that in principle might happen.
Like a loss of coolant accident.
Like a loss of the radioactivity of the reactor to the outside world, and one way that has been discussed that will lead to this is the loss of coolant accident, which has been so thoroughly discussed that it almost certainly never will actually occur. But the possibility that the radioactivity may escape and get spread around, this in some unforeseen way, I cannot quite exclude. It's extremely improbable. But people are very much afraid of it. And therefore, I want to make sure that even if the reactor loses its radioactivity, the radioactivity should remain contained and no outsider should be hurt. The simplest way to do this, to accomplish this, is to bury the reactor so that its top is 200 feet underground with packed earth on top of it. If this is done together with a number of other obvious safety measures, then even if the reactor should malfunction, even if there is a loss of hundreds of millions of dollars, there won't be any harm in a single life. And that's the kind of assurance I would ideally like to establish, if it can be established, without excessive cost, and I think it can.
Well, now, what kind of excessive cost are you talking about? 4 reactor units have come in at costs of up to $1.2 billion for a single reactor site. What additional cost would be entailed in burying it underground?
I would say that whatever the cost is, an increase of cost of 20% would, in my opinion, be quite tolerable.
Wouldn't that...
it would be tolerable, you know, because greater safety means that you don't need quite as much time in planning. And time in this case is money. The longer time you need in planning, the higher the cost. And these $1.2 billion costs are to a great extent due to these complicated delays that we have introduced.
Well, that's true, but there are those who are saying now, including Senator Gravel, that the current cost makes nuclear power production almost cost prohibitive. In addition
Senator Gravel's suggestion of solar energy is approximately 5 or 10 times as expensive as nuclear energy. And I'm afraid Senator Gravel translates his emotions into dollars in not a quite justifiable manner. Nuclear reactors are among sources of energy, and the amount of material available for them is exceedingly great.
Out of the $4 point some odd billion allocated for energy research, by the federal government over the next 10 years. Only 60 million of that is for alternative energy sources like geothermal and solar. Why aren't we putting enough money into research to determine ways of harnessing the sun?
Look, I am not arguing that the plan of spending money on nuclear research or energy research is reasonable. It is not. The plans for a breeder reactor are much too expensive.
$10 billion.
I think it's a little less, but it's too expensive, and we don't need the breeders. Solar energy, at best, will make a big contribution in 20 years. We need solutions earlier. I believe that the solar research is in a good and reasonable shape. Geothermal may need more support. But of course, in the very short time available here, we cannot go item by item into the plans.
We've got about a minute left. I'd like to ask about the waste disposal problem from nuclear reactors. The Lyons, Kansas salt flat is out. Where are we now going to find as a permanent depository?
The Lyons plan was nonsense, committed by a not very competent official who since has been fired by Dixie Lee Ray, the last chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, who herself is both competent and courageous. She has rightly called the waste disposal problem the greatest contemporary non-problem. We know how to put nuclear wastes into very solid containers, how to put them into mausoleums which will admit a little air for cooling, but not admit human hands, which are almost indestructible, and if high explosives should destroy it, you would scatter a few particles, a few pieces of material around, but no dust, and you would be faced with a little worry, not with a catastrophe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Teller.
How many of these USO shows do you do a year?
Well, I did them before they were USO shows. I did them when they were camp shows in 1918.
Why do you keep going?
Because I love my country, and I like to do something for them, and I like to get into every city through the medium of television and the press. The Atlanta Constitution didn't have one word of us being there. We want the Congress to know that the men who fought for their country have been hurt are not to be forgotten and die in veterans' hospitals.
How do you feel about our involvement between Israel and the Arab countries? Do you feel
Well,
that...
it's a question of our involvement. It's a question of our protection. If they take everything over there, they'll take Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Montgomery and the rest of the world.
Do you feel the Israeli people and the Arabs are any closer to peace now than they have been?
The Israeli people just wanted to be left alone. And you can't sign anything with any communists because they tear up pacts like they're pieces of paper. I think that if we hold our strength in Thailand and in Japan and in the Philippines and some strength in the Middle East, that there'll be peace for some time. I think that if we take our men out of there, the commies will take the rest of the world in about an hour. Not exactly shows. Mine is more of a Operation Morale. I talk America wherever I go, and it's preservation. In order to save it, we will have to use the big stick and not have a lot of sleepy congressmen have meetings. If they'd have had a meeting to decide whether President Ford was to get back that ship that Cambodia stole, Cambodia would have probably taken 10 more ships.
How is the morale of the soldier today as compared with, say, World War II?
Well, the morale is not as good because the crime in life is to lose. And we lost the war, which we should have won in an hour and a half.
Real thankful that God gave me the ability to play football, and I'm very thankful that He really, I think, led me back to Birmingham. And you know, this was a very complicated thing to be traded between leagues, and I think the details were worked out, and I'm just very, very thankful for the situation that exists. The last 2 months, it's just made great improvements. Now I'm running on at full speed and cutting, and I think it feels good. And you can't ever rule out injury in any season, and I can't this season, but I don't see any reason why I couldn't go through the year just like any other year and have no problems.
Smoothly, I think. Johnny, did you have to take a pay cut to come to Birmingham?
Well, you notice that I didn't couldn't afford a coat and tie, so I didn't fly first class. But, no, I think it's a very fair agreement. I'm very pleased with it. I think the club is too. So I think it's fair, and I'm very pleased.
Well, of course, I was very pleased, as well as extremely shocked.
Why were you shocked?
Well, I didn't really know that they were seriously considering appointing a woman at this time. I had hoped that eventually there would be one, but didn't know that they were seriously considering it. And when I was contacted, I was just surprised.
This appointment of a woman to the Board of Trustees will give the feminist touch to the board. What are your plans in this regard? What do you see is needed here at Auburn University?
Well, I really would like to have a chance to see what some of the students feel about it. I would like to see women have a more active role, maybe, in some campus things. Nothing in particular as yet, but I would like just to be a spokesman for the women students.
Of the education facilities here at Auburn, other than the sports program?
No, certainly not, George, at the moment, because I have not made an in-depth study of Auburn University. I say there has to be an awareness, because I've been present here over a period of years. My main concern is that Auburn University will continue to grow and continue to serve the people of the state of Alabama. To continue to be a land-grant university, if you will, that it started out so many years ago. And, of course, I'm for just improvement in any direction that's called for.
Do you see anything in the field that you're in now that you would like to see changed?
The athletic department?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't think so. And if I did, certainly at the moment, would not be in the best interest of Auburn University to talk about.
One specified by law at which the board is organized. The most important element was the approval of the operating budget for the next year, which is a tentative budget because we haven't received our legislative appropriation. That will begin whatever we get the 1st of October, and the budget will be revised again. So that basically we were continuing the same operating budget with some income estimated an amount of about $1 million more than last year, but fundamentally expenditures at the same level as last year.
Well, that hadn't crossed my mind. I try not to, let those things, draw my attention, because my goal this year is, win the SEC, and a winning team, gonna have winning personnel. So things will come as they are.
Win and let whatever happens happen.
Right.
Thank you, Cedric.
In a number of the other cities of this state. When the occasion was over, a small boy tugged at his coat and said, "Sir, what was in that bandana handkerchief?" My worldly possessions in a bandana handkerchief on a stick I carried over my shoulder, and today I'm on the board of directors of the bank. I own the bill pit. You know, we all agree that you can't take it with you, and now we know why. It goes before you. It's been good to me. He said, I remember walking into this town down a muddy road 47 years ago. Now, whether we call it free enterprise or private enterprise or just plain capitalism, that system has lifted more burdens from the backs of more people who toil than any other system the world has ever known. And it has never been in greater danger than it is today. We've neglected to teach economics in our schools, and an entire generation of our sons and daughters is growing up half persuaded that all the social and economic ills of the nation can be blamed on the pursuit of profit. Voices are raised demanding that we curtail private property rights in the name of environmental protection. Others, proclaiming consumerism, declare the very word profit is synonymous with evil. And no one points out a very simple truth, that property, profit, and freedom are inseparable, and without the right to the first two, you cannot possibly have the third.
Bill, we've had a fine week. We had a routine week, I guess. Sunday, we always meet for a little check on the injury thing, and we had some after the game last week on Sunday morning. And then Monday we were out in shorts. Tuesday and Wednesday, however, we were in pads, and we went at it like an Auburn football team ought to.
Good.
Of course, I think we all realize how disappointed not only the team, coaches, and everybody else that supports Auburn were last weekend, but that's history now. We have to look forward to Baylor and some other formidable opposition, and we're doing everything we can to get the show back on the road.
Expect them to throw a lot?
Well, we don't know. This boy, Charlie Parker, we know so little about. But, you know, Phil, even I can throw, just a matter of how well, and I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Parker can throw the ball very well.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you a lot. Appreciate you
We'll be
coming
back in
out.
early in the morning, Sunday morning, right?
Right, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Thank
Hope
you.
it's a happy trip.
Thank you very much.
And I believe we are this week.
Expect them to be throwing a lot of delays?
Well, I'm sure they looked at the films and scouted us pretty well, and if they scout us at all, they'll try it on us because we blew it last week. We just weren't mentally ready for that, and even though we seen it in the films previously, but I think they're going to try us out on those.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Chuck, what about these blitzing linebackers? I know you expect to see a lot of them this week.
Well, we had some problems last week with them running through the line and everything, and I think we ironed that out this week. Our attitude's been real good. We've been working real hard, and we're just looking forward to get out there and kind of showing all our folks in the home state here that we got a good football team, and just put the wood to them and bring back home a victory.
That's good enough for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you.
Normal, I guess, so we're getting ready for.
You feel like you'll be ready to play?
Yeah, I think so.
Hope so. What, is it a matter of warming up and seeing how it works?
Yeah, well, right now I think I'll be ready to play.
Okay, good luck to you. Thank you.
He's one that testified in this trial.